Right, so this time we're going to try a very simple elk hair sedge. It can be done with elk hair or deer hair, but quite quick to tie this one. These are the hooks I'm using, which are general purpose, size 10, quite lightweight. You could go down to, I don't know, 16 or maybe up to an 8, depending on the size of the sedge, but there's umpteen different species of sedges that hatch. The ones on my river, I think, I can't remember the name of them, but they're sort of a greenish body. And deer hair is ideal. It's quite floatable, or should I say quite unsinkable, very buoyant, and forms the body shape and wing very easily. So take some thread up the hoop, back just past the bend, about there, just past the point, sorry, onto the edge of the bend. Trim that off. I'm going to put a little bit of wire in just to form a sort of segmented body. I don't really like wire on dry flies. Any metal you can avoid putting in, all the better, because obviously metal adds weight, which is the opposite of what you're trying to achieve with a dry fly. You don't want to affect the buoyancy. So the least wire I can get away with, the better. So just a bit to trap it in there. Leave a loose tail, which I will wrap up the body afterwards. The body is very, very simple. It's just a bit of dubbing. This is the stuff which is semperelfri, I think that's how we pronounce it. Predator fibre. Quite handy for streamers. You can make wings out of it, and ideal for bodies as well. I use it on the mayflies, and it's a similar thing here. Just a little bunch of that, trap it in about halfway down the body maybe. I'm not going to take the thread down, I'm just going to trap it there, and I'm going to bring the wire round, nice neat turns, and just form a bit of segmentation, keeping the turns as even as I possibly can. Wrap it round nice and tight and bring it up there, trap it in with the silk, turn it back on itself a bit to further secure it, and then trim that off. There shouldn't be more than maybe an inch of wire in that, which is more than adequate. I'll just leave a little bit of a sort of a bobbly tail there with a little pin. I'm just going to pluck some of that fibre out. Let's get a little bit of fuzz. And ready for the wing, which is simplicity itself really. Bunch of elk hair. I'll put my scissors now. There we are. And I'll get it in two stages. I don't want to get too big of a bunch in straight away, because it sort of gets a bit messy. Little stacker, which is just a little sort of bottle top. Put the hair in the stacker, give it a tap. That just makes sure the ends are roughly the same length, without having to cut them off to achieve that. Trap that maybe 1.5 times the length of the hook, something like that. Trap it in, pull it down. This is forming the wing. I'll take one turn underneath, bring it back, drop it down again. Now these straggly bits at the front, I want to leave 2 of them to form the antenna of the sedge. They look a little bit like a moth, and they've got 2 sort of antennas at the front, so I don't know where it has to necessarily be two, but I'll just leave a couple loose there at the front. And then we can put a bit more deer hair in, elk hair, sorry. I say deer hair, you can use the same, it's a little bit finer maybe. I'm not going to bother stacking that, it's pretty even as it is. Pull that down, let it flare out. And then I've got some deer hair reel here which is getting a little bit short for using for bodies, so I'm going to use that, chop a bit of that round. You could use elk hair for the same thing, I'm just using this up because it's a short fibre. Get that on top, wrap that round, and that forms a nice little fuzzy head. You can see the shape of the fly coming together now, which there's not an awful lot more now. Just leave a couple of those forward bits for the antenna, and the rest of it we trim it back a bit. Two poking forward, try not to touch them, and the rest of it just pull it back with the scissors, being careful not to catch the thread. And what we have is sort of a ball, a rough spiky ball up front with a trailing sort of comet tail. This is basically the punk rocker of trout flies. It's like most of my patterns, it's quite scruffy but quite effective, and as you can see, quite simple to tie really. It doesn't take you long to knock a few of these together. Whipping knot and finish. And I'm just going to put a little bit of varnish down there on that knot, if I can avoid the blobbing up the head. Just to sort of cement that webbing together. And that's pretty well it. As with all my flies, what I'll do, I'll just keep a little bit of nylon, put it through the eye in case any varnish gets on that eye and blocks it up. There we go, we've got a little bit of a loop of nylon through there to keep that clean. And that's our elk hair sedge. As the mayfly tails off on my rivers, the sedge is the next sort of fly that you got a chance of picking out the better fish with. The antenna's just going back a bit, but that's it. So sedge time's here, second half of June, after the mayfly. Okay, tight lines, good luck. Please give it a go. Well, I've just seen it from your side, and it does need a bit more trimming, so here goes. Tidy up at the bottom there. And just on that side. And that's looking a bit more like it, I think you'll agree. yeah, a little bit happier with that. Okay, so tight lines, and try this at home by all means.